Steinfeld.
Here.
Steve Gower.
Here.
Carol Gibson. Steve Kulolick. Susan Wingard.
Here.
Tom Duckworth.
Here.
Thank you, Sherry. I don't know whether you all have an agenda or not, but there's 5 cases for public hearing this evening. Before we open the hearings, though, we've got minutes to take care of from last month. Has everybody had an opportunity to review the minutes? Do you have any questions or comments or corrections? If not, is there a motion to approve?
I so move.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? All right, so that piece of business is taken care of. All right, we'll move into the public hearing phase of the meeting. As I say, we have 5 cases this evening. First case is case number 1628 at 137 Garden Way. Ron Rosel, is that the pronunciation? Is the applicant owner seeking a dimensional variance for construction of a garage.
Correct.
Mark, do you have anything you want to add to this before we open the hearing?
It's just looking to put on the addition, where it could be a 2-story addition with a garage on the bottom and a living space above on the rear of the house. And it's going to, right now it's proposed to be 5 feet off of the property line, the left property line in the front, and 6.5 in the back. Just trying to shove it over so he has room to pull in and out of his garage. It's at the back of the house, and then it's a 50-foot lot, so.
All right. We have a spokesperson for this case. If you will, please come up to the podium. First, give your name and address for the record.
Name is Ron Rosel. Address is 137 Garden Way.
All right, you need to raise your right hand. Promise to tell the truth and nothing but the truth.
Promise to tell the truth, nothing but the truth.
Thank you. You want to give us a little more of a description of what you're proposing?
Yeah, as Mark said, I'm looking to, I had the property surveyed a while back, and currently the home sits on a 50-foot lot front, which is actually the variance is just a little over 5 foot. In the back, it's 7 foot, and on the left side of the house, when I go down the right side of the house, my driveway comes down, comes around, and I want to put a garage on the living story above. And I would like to move that from the 9-foot variance to 5 foot so that I have plenty of room to bring my vehicle down there without being so tight and driving onto my neighbor's property. As you can see, I know Mark has the drawings. That's my request, pretty simple, and hope you consider it.
Yes, I think you may have already answered this question, but that was my question was, is there a reason that you didn't want to keep it in alignment with the house itself?
Yeah, it makes it a tight turn. The alignment of the house currently is 7 foot in the back from the variance, current property line. So I want to scoot it over just a little bit because the variance from the right side of the house to my neighbor's house, it's not even 5 feet. And I know that turn in there is a little tight, so I would love to move that if possible.
Okay, so it's garage on the first floor and living quarters on the second floor?
Correct.
You are aware that it's single-family rental, though? You can't,
Correct.
You can't rent that out?
Correct.
Okay. Does anyone here this evening have any questions or comments on this case? Or members of the board?
There's that 10-foot section in between the existing house and the garage, like a rectangle piece, is that?
Yes,
is
that is actually part of the garage as well, if you
Okay.
see that.
So that's not going to, a car won't go in there?
No, it's just, that'll be like a mudroom at the bottom.
Anybody else have any questions?
It appears, Mr. Rosel, that the exterior of the house, at least in front, from the photo we were given, is brick.
That is correct.
And even though this board does not opine on design matters, I'm interested in what the materials will be siding on the garage.
That's still to be determined. But if you look at the front of the house, it is brick, then the front porch was enclosed and it's actual vinyl siding. So what I probably will do is look at the back, in the basement, as you can see, it's all cinder block, concrete poured walls. So I would love to match that to the house, and then the brick also. So the lower section will be matched to the house, the upper section will be probably like some type of concrete siding or something like that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else? Seems pretty cut dry. No, I think you're right.
Oh, just one last question. Will the additional living space require a new condenser on the outside so that it can be, or will the existing condenser allow you to have AC in that new living space?
That new living space will have an additional HVAC system.
Okay. The reason we ask is any outside condensers or components to HVAC must also meet variance requirements, setback requirements.
Okay. The current one now is on the left-hand side of the house, so it actually probably sits about 2 foot from the property line. It's there. So the other one, in order to meet that, if there was to be a change to meet that variance, that condenser could be put on the back side of the house
Correct,
or the garage versus the side.
correct. In fact, that's probably recommended.
Okay. I think even if you look at the drawings, from the property line to the edge of the garage, I believe it's somewhere around 7 feet. But again, that variance, if that doesn't meet that, that condenser could be moved around.
The consideration, as you might imagine, is that condensers do make some noise.
Right.
So anytime someone builds closer to a next door neighbor, we want to make sure that neighbor is not unduly inconvenienced by a new source of noise.
Sure. I understand.
Okay.
Anything else? Anybody care to make a motion?
I'll make a motion on case 1628 to grant the 4-foot left side variance for the garage in addition to add a little bit more living space to the current property.
Okay, we have a motion to grant the request. Is there a second?
I second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Call the roll.
James Franklin,
Aye.
Steve Dallas,
Aye.
Susan Wingard,
Aye.
Tom Beckler.
Aye.
Motion carries. You have your approval.
Thank you very much.
Next case this evening is case number 1629, 109 Carolina Avenue. Tim Burks is the applicant, seeking a setback for dimensional variance for construction of a new single-family home. Mark, do you have anything you want to add before we open this hearing?
It's, Mr. Burke just want to make sure that, as I point out in my staff report, that only a small portion of the structure, about 22 feet, is going to be within 12.5 feet of the front property line. The rest of the house sits well beyond the required setback for that zone. So even though it's going to be fairly close, it's still going to have the appearance of most of the house being behind setback from the street or the proper amount. So
In that amount is basically the depth of the garage.
yeah, the garage is about 22 feet wide, scaled. So only about 22 feet width of the building will be 12.5 feet from the curb. He has another drawing, it's more highlighted, outlining the, what part of the building will be closest within that 12.5 feet that he's requesting. And then the blue is the required setback for that zone. that drawing.
Go back to your side. Would you give your name and address for the record, please?
Yeah, Tim Burks, I live at 111 Carolina.
All right. You need to raise your right hand. Promise to tell the truth and nothing but the truth.
I do.
All right. You want to give us a little more of a description of what's being proposed?
Well, we're building a single-family home on the property, and you can see that the paper I gave you, the yellow area is the area I'm looking to get a variance on, so 286 square feet. Now, if you look at the other house, we said so far back, the blue area is the area that's behind the 25-foot setback, which is 1,620 square feet. So we wanted a fair amount of off-street parking, parking one lane, one side only, and, you know, so we wanted a lot of area to park cars on this property. So you can see I have a lot more area behind the 25 than I do in front. There's a green belt, there's a bunch of trees and brush. I guess it's on the southwest side of the property, the back of the property, that we want to maintain. So it's just a better fit for the house. It just fit on a lot better. They're talking about a possible pool, and as much backyard as possible, so it just accommodated a lot better.
So the address is on Carolina, it's not going to be
Correct.
on the side of Patterson?
No, that's a private road. There is a little strip of property that comes up that is, it has hedges on it right now. That's part of the lot behind this lot. There's 3 15-foot flag strips coming up through there.
Was there a house on that property previously?
Yeah.
I thought there
That was my question as well. The GIS web map that all of us were given by Mark and Sherry shows an existing structure at 109.
That's
So
gone.
that will be demolished?
That's gone.
It's already gone.
Okay.
So basically where the garage is, it's torn between Patterson and Carolina, so it's not abutting anybody's property.
No, it's not abutting anybody's property, and it's essentially a one-car garage is what I'm encroaching on the setback. So there's nothing, well, I'm to the right of it down there in that flag lot. So there's nothing lining it up. I mean, there's a house to the left of the road on Patterson. It's pretty far away, and that's heavily shrubed or treed, the left side of that garage. And architecturally, it's not a garage. I mean, we put a lot of effort into the design, which I have the design, I don't have it with me. As far as the carriage house look for the garage, I mean, it's just not a standard garage elevation.
Does anyone here this evening have questions or comments on this case?
One more point of clarification for me, and I'm sorry if I just missed this. According to this larger drawing which you just gave us, there are 3 cars in the drawing. So is there a single car garage that is cantilevered and then a double car garage?
No, that's a double car garage, of which half of that double car garage is, I'm asking for the variance.
Okay,
So there's 3-car garage plus a fair amount of pavement for off-street parking.
Okay.
So, yeah. That is a 2-car garage.
Well, the last time I drove down Carolina, parking is at a premium.
It is.
It's a lovely area, but
It is. So,
I can understand the need for off-street parking.
well, that was certainly for the 3rd-car garage. I mean, a house of this level usually does have a 3rd-car garage, but as far as the parking off-street, this will allow. And part of that is setting the house, the main part of the house back a little more and getting, you know, I don't know how many cars you can get in there, but
So the only other question I have is, given what appears to be the depth of this lot, couldn't the house and the garages be pushed back a bit?
it could be. Again, there's probably a 30-foot, and it's a lot of scrub trees, but it's green, and there's people behind this where the 130.19 is. And they just want as much usable yard and a pool as possible.
No, thank you. I appreciate any effort to save trees,
I
scrub or
mean,
not.
physically, you could move the house back, yes, and it would fit. I mean, I think it works better this way, but
Any others have any questions? What are you thinking? I'm inclined to agree with this setup. How do you think? I think this is good. All those houses down there, I mean, they're all, they're kind of a little complex.
Yeah. Preserves green space, which is always nice. Such a pool in the backyard.
No, Carolina on.
Well, I'll make a motion to accept the proposed setback under case 231629. Due to the fact that the proposed location of the garage is bounded by 2 public thoroughfares, and so would not be interfering with the other property owners enjoying their own property. And then it would also maintain maximum green space for the lot itself.
One probably minor correction, they're not both Patterson's.
Oh, that's true, but public and private road.
Streets, any streets. All right, so we have a motion to grant the request. Is there a second?
I'll second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? Call the roll.
James Spider,
Aye.
Steve Fuller,
Aye.
Susan Wingard,
Aye.
Tom Becker.
Aye.
Motion carries. You have your approval.
thank you.
Next case this evening is case number 1631 at 29 Bluegrass. Bob McManus is the owner applicant, seeking a dimensional variance for the construction of a garage. Mark, do you have anything you want to add to this before we open this here?
He's also requesting a small addition on the front of the house, on the right side as you face the house on the street. That side of the house is less than the 8 feet from the property line, so it's 2 setback variances, one for the right, one for the left. The left being for the garage and the right being for the small addition in the front.
All right. How much is the dimension? What is the dimension?
I'm calculating the left side variance to be 3 feet less than, for a total of 5 feet off that line, and a 2'9" on the right side, so it'll be 5'3" from the line.
All right. We have a spokesperson for this case. You will please come up to the podium. Please give your name and address for the record.
It's Bob McManus, 29 Bluegrass Avenue.
All right. You promise to tell the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
You want to give us a little more of a description of what you're proposing?
Well, I'm trying to add a garage to the left-hand side of the structure, which I thought about putting in the back of the house, but there's really not a good way to do that without it getting kind of cost because the yard falls off. So maybe.
Okay. 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 Please give your name and address for the record.
It's Bob McManus, 29 Bluegrass Avenue.
All right. You promise to tell the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
You want to give us a little more of a description of what you're proposing?
Well, I'm trying to add a garage to the left-hand side of the structure, which I thought about putting in the back of the house, but there's really not a good way to do that without it getting kind of cost because the yard falls off. So my best option was to put it on the left-hand side and want to make it wide enough because, you know, our SUVs are so large today. Got to make it wide enough so I can pull in and open my car door, so that kind of infringes on the 8-foot setback on the side, which puts me 5 feet off the property line. And the existing house next to me, they're like 4'6" off the property line, so that kind of leaves us about 9 foot between our two structures. As far as the front addition, that's just going to be a little addition to my bedroom. I want to turn that into like a little home office. So I'm just keeping that in line with the width of my house currently. It's not extending out any further. It's just keeping the same width of the house, it's just bringing it out 7 feet.
Okay, so you're not increasing that dimension.
Correct.
How deep is your lot? That's pretty.
It's pretty deep because the house is, I'm probably 125 feet from the road. The house sits really far back. You can actually go out on the patio and look at it. And then the back of the yard is probably another 80, 90 feet. But it drops off the hillside, so trying to put a garage back there just became
Goes down.
too expensive.
But previously, years ago, it was known as Death Valley.
Yes. My backyard is in Death Valley.
Practice field when I was in school.
That was a parking lot.
Yep.
So hard for me to determine, but it appears on the web map that all of us again were given that there is some kind of a structure in your backyard.
That's just an old storage shed that was there when I moved there. It's probably been sitting there for 40 years.
And it's still there.
It's still there, yeah,
Okay.
just the previous owner had, you know, throw your lawnmower kind of stuff in it,
Okay.
but not nearly big enough for me to put all my stuff.
So basically it's going with the driveway, right?
Yes, the driveway is actually 2 foot wider than the structure I proposed. So if you look at my driveway, I mean, I wish I could make it even a little bit wider, even with my driveway, but I don't want to get too close to them. So my driveway is actually 2 foot to the left of where my structure will be.
Pretty cut and dry.
Yeah. Anyone here this evening have any questions or comments on this case? About members of the board?
motion, on case 1631, that we approve the request for a 3-foot left side yard variance, 2-foot 9-inch right side yard variance. Grant the variance will not cause undue harm to the neighboring properties. The narrowness of the width of the lot constricts the type of building that can go on, so without the granting of the request, it would not allow the resident to use the property properly.
All right, we have a motion to grant the request. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? Call the roll for Sharon.
James Heineke,
Aye.
Steve Dowler,
Aye.
Susan Weaver,
Aye.
Tom Decker.
Aye.
You have your approval.
Thank you.
Moving right along this evening, case number 1632 is at 57 Lammy Parkway. Brent, is that Nice or Knight? Is the applicant requesting a dimensional variance for the expansion and covering of the front porch. Mark, do you have anything you want to add to this?
They're just looking to widen the porch a little bit because they want to put a roof over it because there's water getting into the house because of the age of the porch. And in order to, they want to widen it so the roof does not interfere with the second floor windows, the first floor windows, make it all wonky from the street. So they're requesting a 4-foot variance on the right side to widen the porch. They have the roof look good and operate well too. So
All right. Have a spokesperson. You will first give your name and address for the record.
Brent Neese, 33 Woodland Place in Fort Thomas.
All right. You promise to tell the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Give us a little more description of what you're proposing.
As Mark said there's an existing porch. This is a R1B zone district, so it's 9-foot side yard setback. It's supposed to have a 65-foot wide lot here, but it's only 49 feet, so it's a really tight house on a neighbor that shouldn't be much wider lot. So the house, porch, driveway, everything are really condensed right here for this lot. The current house in the northeast corner sits 4'3". The porch that's currently there is falling apart. If you go underneath it from the basement, there's rebar exposed, so we need to remove this porch and replace it. And while doing that, also, the clients also tried to do many things over the years to help with water issues in that front wall. Unfortunately, with flashing, the header, the water, it's just still getting back there after everything else. So while we're doing this porch, our hope is to extend the roof line across to help prevent the water from getting on that front wall and on that slab. We looked at, with the 9-foot side yard setback, it is that the column and the beam and support are right in the middle of the window of the house. So if we can slide that over to be a 4-foot or a 5-foot setback on that side, it would look a lot better. It'd be off center of the window and it fits with the house. I think there's a front elevation I think that you guys may have. So yeah, so that's just asking for a 4-foot variance, keeping the 5-foot, and the existing house is 4'3" right now. It is, the house and the lot are both a little skewed the house is a little skewed on the lots with how it's set up with the curve of the street right there. So it makes for all these dimensions a little odd as you
It's 4 pounds.
I know. Every single one of these are like yeah, so we think it's improving the look of the house, the neighborhood, and helping to solve a bunch of functional issues too.
All right. But it's the footprint of the new porch is, I know there's inches here, we're talking about 20 inches or whatever, but it's basically going to replace the existing.
So I guess, yeah, so that's something Mark and I chatted about. The existing porch, we're actually coming towards the street a little bit, but Mark went out and done a bunch of calculations based upon the neighbor's property. So
we're coming up 20 inches, but that's not a variance we're asking for because of the neighbor's property. It's just the width in that northeast corner that we're, and it's coming over several, I think about 3.5 feet from what's currently there, from the existing one. And there's no roof on that portion of it, but.
Okay. Is it, just out of curiosity, will you be able to do the construction and maintain the tree, or does the tree have to?
I was worried about that too.
Yeah, me too.
So that's something.
We're working on that.
Yeah.
I understand. Yeah.
So,
We're gonna trim them back and
yeah,
Cross
so
the finish.
on the right side now, where the roof is being extended, that side will now just be a turned down slab. So we're hoping by not digging down as far, maybe we can keep the roots. So we're trying to work this in to see if we can keep that, so yes.
The intention is.
Yes.
Well, there's no guarantees when it comes to
Yeah.
dealing with trees.
Are there water issues now with this leaking into the home itself? I mean, I guess what I'm asking, are you gonna have like gutters and that installed, try to reroute some of that water?
Yes,
Okay.
so there's gutters to the main house,
Okay.
and the porch has, I don't think there's anything on either side, is there, on the porch? I don't think there is, so. Sorry.
I'll ask the
But,
gentleman
yeah.
here.
So, I don't think there's any gutters on either side, and so the intention is to take that water, yes, and divert it around the house, because right now, the part of the house that has the issues is over that dining room window, because water's getting down and coming down that wall, and the way, the brick is right there over the header, and the lintel, and like, it's either getting back there, we've tried to caulk it, we've tried to flash it, we don't know if it's there, we don't know if it's partially just soaking in through the old brick, if it's down the slab, the way it's designed, and actually over the years it's cracked and kind of coming back towards the house, so all these, except with replacing the slab, hopefully putting this roof on there, it's a lot of things to just get that water away from it, to not have issues in the future.
Does everybody understand? I don't know if I asked or not, but anyone here this evening have questions on this case?
I approve of the motion.
You're not sitting at the table.
Give them the 2
We're
cents.
ready for a motion.
I think we are.
on
I am.
Yeah.
In case 23-1632, I move the board approve the request for a 4-foot right side yard variance for the construction of a covered front porch, which will be designed to add to the appearance of the home as opposed to detract, and more importantly, will hopefully resolve major water issues experienced by the homeowners.
Okay, we have a motion to grant the request. Is there a second?
A second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Call the roll.
James Heineke,
Aye.
Steve Dowd,
Aye.
Susan Weaver,
Aye.
Tom Zeppelin.
Aye.
Motion carries. You're approved.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thanks.
Next case this evening is case number 1633 at 104 Broadview, and the applicant seeking dimensional variance for the construction of a new single-family residence. Mark, you have anything you want to add to this?
This is a fun one. Because they're requesting a front yard setback of 2 feet and a right side setback of 4 feet variance, and also a height variance because they're approximately 9 inches taller than the average elevation around the house. So the new house will actually be further off the right line than what the current house is, so they're trying to get less non-conforming, but they can't move over too far because the hill starts going off pretty quickly over there.
That's kind of a unique lot,
It is,
even for Fort Thomas.
which is saying a lot.
Yeah, it
There's
is.
a lot of unique lots in Fort Thomas, so.
All right. Do I have a spokesperson for this case? You will please give your name and address for the record?
Yes, Albert Fetters, Fetters Construction, 1102 Brighton Street, Newport, Kentucky.
All right, you want to give us a little more of a description?
Yes, do you mean to raise my hand real quick?
No, that's too careless.
Sorry. Just wanted to know.
You promise to tell the truth and nothing but the truth.
Yes. Yes, as Mark said, I'm representing the owner, Mr. McFarland. The variance is, we are on the right side is currently, the house is about two foot off the property line. We want to try to bring it in 4 feet, so the 8 feet, so it'd be 4 feet off the property line, so we're gaining about just less than 2 feet. One of the reasons, like Mark said, is the hillside. On the other side of the hill, there's a big oak tree in the back left corner we're trying to preserve. That sits back there. The front, we're still inside the existing property. We're still pushing the house back a little bit, but the front stairs are right there, like 2 feet off the setback. The 9 inches, going back and forth on design, different things. We're only 9 inches in a little section in the back of the overall height. We're on a flat roof, so majority of the house is well under, it's almost 8 feet below that height restriction, but they're wanting a rooftop deck up on top of that. So we have to have a structure to go up to allow egress up there. So that one section in the back to give you that river view is roughly about 9 inches too high. Mark, I don't know, and we forgot to put this on the thing. They're also, I guess, asking for a little curb cut down towards the bottom to put extra parking. There's not, there's not a lot of parking, so we're doing previous pavers that have a little bit more off-street parking, so if guests come. The family has.
That's on the left side going down?
Yeah, it's just kind of at the bottom down there, where it kind of levels out. We're just gonna do like a little pads that, you've got the pavers that is pervious, water goes through.
Right.
So it's not like concrete, but we know people are gonna end up parking there in the grass when they come to visit. So we're just trying to be proactive and not have mud and whatnot. I'm here to answer any questions you might have.
No, but it looks like that lot presents some challenges for you.
Yes, nature of the jobs I get. solving headaches, and I think we designed 3 or 4 different, we went round and around 3 or 4 different times on the house, laying it out. You have an easement in the back, that 2 feet in the front, like there's a sewer easement in the back, so it's kind of hard to push back there, and the mature trees are in the back left corner. So we're trying to keep those, so they're pretty substantial.
You're not too far away from having to have gotten approval from the city of Dayton for this site.
Yeah,
I thought the same thing.
Yeah.
I thought about it.
it's right on the border, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, part of the street is that way.
So something I wondered about, and I don't know, Jim, have you asked if anyone else is here to talk about this?
Not yet, but
Okay.
I will. Does anybody have any questions or comments on this case?
I'll have to drive down and check it out.
I was just wondering if next door neighbors might object to the rooftop deck. It's kind of like spying on your neighbors, even though that's not the intent. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, the house is right and left. The way it's sitting, it's not really going to be an issue with them. The house on the left is way far away. They're not going to see that the trees. The tree is growing up. Same thing on the right. The neighbor, if any neighbor was going to be here to complain, would be the neighbors across the street at height. And they're pretty far up elevation-wise. We took that in consideration, with doing the flat roof and the design of the house. So majority of it, we are higher than the existing house, but we're well, for the majority of the roof, we're well underneath the height restriction. So we try to mitigate as much as we could. It is a tight site. So I take that into consideration. I am a four-town resident. I actually did a similar thing, but different. I live in Oak Ridge. And I took a view from my neighbors, and I've been here for 11 years. They weren't happy at the first, but, we get along great now, and they understood. But, obviously, they don't make any more land in Fort Thomas.
Well, one more comment I have. I noted in your report, Mark, you wrote, the proposed height variance is due to the ground being a lot lower on the left and rear of the house. I don't think that really has anything to do with the fact that they want a rooftop deck. If they weren't requesting a rooftop deck, then there wouldn't be a need for a height variance. But my bigger issue is, you wrote, it will not alter the essential character of the general vicinity. I have not ever had occasion to drive on Broadview Place, and from the photos that we were given, this proposed new structure is going to be hugely different from at least the house to the left. It looks ultra contemporary.
Yeah. The
And
house to the
there's
left,
nothing wrong with that.
I don't know if you've been over, I guess you haven't been over there. The house to the left, actually, these clients tried to buy. It was for sale, and they lost out, we had it outbid. That is becoming, they're doing construction on that right now. The gentleman is making it very similar style.
Okay.
He has more land, but he's making a similar style right now. There's a dumpster there and whatnot. So it is different than the existing house, but it's going to follow that pattern. And it's a weird little street because there's not a lot of houses at that end. So it's going to blend in really well. That was one of our things we took into consideration. We're trying to fit in the neighborhood, not to be this ultra mountain that sits out in front of everything. But the house to the left, I don't know if that aerial shows, it is boxy. It sits down there. It is boxy, and he's doing a renovation now. Actually, the client was trying to get that location.
Well, there's certainly nothing wrong with different types of architecture. Nobody wants to live in a cookie cutter town or city. It's going to be a standout. And I'm just curious, this is a slide to get off the deck?
A slide, there's a slide, yes.
Yeah.
She has little kids, and,
Okay.
and so yeah. I've always wanted to do that. I've done it in a couple commercial buildings. I've done it. It's just a cool little feature that you can do. Instead of having the swing set out there, you make use of the existing structure.
This is relevant to nothing, but it reminded me of that scene in A Christmas Story where Santa pushes the little kid
Yeah.
down the slide.
I did the Road ID building in Covington. The Road ID is a medical band. I did the old Johnson movie right behind Braxton there. And we did it on their second floor. They had it in there. Pivot Realty actually working on during that on there in the Corporex building in Fort Wright. We're looking at trying to same sort of thing. It's a big thing out on the West Coast. Is tying that in. If you have stair structures, you have stuff, why not incorporate? It's a fun little
It is fun, very whimsical.
I've not seen the slides previously, but I've seen fire poles.
fireworks. Yeah. Yeah.
Spread the fire poles. I think I asked, but anyone have any questions from the audience this evening? Everybody understand the proposal on the board here? I might just add, just so don't know if it makes any difference to you, but in my now 39 years on this board,
Wow.
we've never had a previous height variance.
I'm sorry, a previous,
Height
It's the first.
variance.
oh, okay.
And it's strictly,
No, I can
it's strictly
imagine.
because of the way the topography runs.
Right.
You have to see it to appreciate it. It's like your backyard. That puts it in perspective. When you're building it, you have to do that. Anybody else have any questions or comments, observations?
Yeah.
It's in an area that is not highly traversed, or you have to know where you're going.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah,
gonna say,
you
I've
have to
been
get there
here
on
four
purpose.
times,
Yeah.
40 years, and I've never been on Broadview. I don't know where it is.
Well, you could be on Broadview and still not know that this is there.
Yeah, it's unique. Well, I'll make a motion regarding case number 1633 to approve the variance request as stated. 4 feet on the right side, 2 feet on the front, and 9 inches of height variance. The granting of these exceptions would not alter in an adverse manner the character of the neighborhood or deprive neighbors of their use of their property or enjoyment of their property. And due to the unique nature of the lot itself, and actually being smaller than the existing setback, it appears to be a reasonable request.
Okay, we have a motion to grant the request. Is there a second?
I'll second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? Call the roll.
James Farrington,
Aye.
Steve Dowd,
Aye.
Susan Lindberg,
Aye.
Tom Decker.
Aye.
Thank you,
Yes.
appreciate it.
Thank you. Do we have anything else to come before us this evening? Other than a motion to adjourn?
We have no further cases.
Nothing coming up yet?
I think we're going to have one for July so far.
All right. Anybody want to go on the record making a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion.
I'll second it. And I'll declare us adjourned.
Happy 4th of July.